You can turn on your mics now. We're all official.
Little button right there, make it green.
You have to have a green unless I'm talking.
No,
It's green all the time.
but if you're like me, leave it green because I never remember to turn it on and off.
I know. And then we're yelling at you the whole time.
Yeah, Tony, turn on your.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, in order.
And then I spill
Then-
my shirt.
Thinking Nasty's on the iPad. Somebody's.
All right. Well, we welcome everybody to our council of government meeting tonight on February 10th. Thanks for being here.
Number one.
All right. Thanks. Yeah. We don't know who it's. We got someone on Zoom
On that
on the
iPad.
iPad.
Looks like you're on mute. Your camera's off. Can you tell us who you are? Can you hear us?
I'm sure you can.
Oh, well.
Maybe is,
Oh,
I don't know. Hopefully they can hear us.
Oh,
ask him to unmute.
yeah.
All right, sorry, can you hear me?
One.
Hello,
All right,
sorry,
welcome.
Okay.
sorry. I trying to figure out how to use an iPad here, so.
County.
Maybe just for a quick moment, we can run around the table and just introduce ourselves with our two new members of our council. We'll start with Tony and we'll,
Tony London, Morgan City Council.
Kelly Priest, School Board.
Jeffrey Richens, Morgan City Council.
Gail Mayor.
Hi Bailey, City Manager for Morgan.
Morgan County, Brett Heiner, Morgan County Public Works Director.
Sorry, Kate Becker, Morgan County Manager.
Jory Johnner, Long Range Planning Director at Wasatch Front Regional Council.
Raylene Blocker, Morgan County Commissioner.
Angie Treese, School Board.
Then
Vaughn.
Vaughn Nickerson, Morgan County Commission.
All right, thank you. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and approve the minutes from our last meeting from November 18th for those members that was here. And then we'll make an agenda change. How's that? Is it-
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I will make a motion that we approve of the minutes.
With an amendment to the minutes.
Yeah, handed it to him. He's gonna do it after this.
Of the minutes,
oh, to the minutes.
to the minutes.
Oh,
That's the end where it, on the voting where it says mayor.
Oh, it's just prophecy.
Well, number 6 under adjourn, it says second by Mayor Tony London.
Oh, no, we gotta fix that. Jeffrey Richens.
all right.
Motion
by
Jeffrey, second by Tony. Okay,
Yeah, they're both those are.
I will make a motion that we approve of the minutes with the correction as noted that it should read, number 6 should read, motion by Jeffrey Richens, second by just Tony London, and the vote was unanimous.
All right, we have a second on Tony's motion.
I'll second that. I was there.
All right, well, hope.
Yeah, but they're not telling us it were.
Yeah. Is there any discussion?
That meeting was in November, by the way.
November 18th. Yeah, thank
We
you.
didn't meet in December.
Nope. All right. If no further discussion, we'll go ahead and take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Raylene and Vaughn, you were both voting members. Just-
All right, thank you. And as a matter of agenda items change, because of we ended the year, Jared had lost his seat and so he was the chair. I was a co-chair and
Blaine
Blaine Fackrell was.
resigned his seat.
Assigned his seat. So anyway, long story short, I ended up as the chair to end the year out. And now because it is the city's year to conduct and offer the host of the building, everything, we need to elect a new chair for this year.
Mr. Chair, I will make a motion that we approve of the agenda with the one change, and that is that we add the election of officers to the agenda for 2025.
All right, thank you. A second,
I'll second to approve the agenda to amend to have an election for motion to elect the officers for today's
on
agenda.
today's agenda, February 10th, 2025. Wait, we had, any discussion?
So number 3 also needs to be noted as an action item. So it's listed under discussion items. Number 3 says review and decision. If, just in case you decide to make a decision, it should be action item on the agenda.
Okay. You want to?
I'll add that to my motion. That
Has been
that
added
is
to
changed as well to an action item.
Member London.
Perfect.
You should manage a city. You do really good at.
Yeah. All right, okay. Any further discussion? If not, we'll take a vote on those two. That single item. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Now, we get to take motions for those who'd like to be nominated to be the chair for the coming year.
Wait a minute. I always say, hold the phone. Yeah, Mr. Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
I mean, historically, we've done this, but does it make sense for whoever hosts this meeting to chair this meeting, that particular body? For example, school board had it was typically a school board member. Does that make sense or does it matter? I'm just thinking of working on the agenda with your administrator,
Secretary.
Technically, in the bylaws, it doesn't have to be that way, but to that very point,
Tradition has
I
been.
think it's worked out well that way.
Well, the only reason I say it is because you'd be
Yeah.
working with your own, in this case, you'd be working with Janet, or you'd be working with county with Public K. I just was wondering if that's something that ought to be considered.
I think it's worked well over the years.
As far as hosting the meeting, and I think that's convenient to be able to work with who you.
Traditionally, we've done it that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Unless others in the commission have a problem with that. I don't.
Do we take nominations from the floor? Is that what we do here?
Officers shall be elected by majority vote of the members from among that body. Election shall take place annually at the first meeting in each calendar year. There should be a chairman and vice chair who will serve in the former absence of chairman. The chairman, or in his absence, the vice chairman shall conduct its meetings in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order amended.
Should manage a county.
I've thought about it. That's the
So-
entire parameters.
So it doesn't have to be, but we
Well,
have done it that way.
We've done it that
Talking about nominations.
in the,
Yeah.
It doesn't specify how you nominate.
Does it say how we nominate?
in the
Self-known.
more than 8+ years that I've been on this council, that's how it's traditionally been.
Sold. I don't have a
So,
vote.
So who was it? I did last, didn't I, for the city? Oh, were you?
I'm just gonna nominate you.
I was just gonna say.
yes. And members of the
Chairman,
council can nominate any one of these 3 members from the city that you want. So don't be afraid to push that green button.
Nominate Tony London to be chair.
Second it.
Who said that?
Yeah. All right.
And
Is-
I guess by,
I'll nominate Jeffrey Richens to be the co-chair. Or do we have to vote on the chair first?
Vote first.
We can vote for the chair. Is there any nominations for the seat of chair of the Council of Governments? Tony London has been nominated, has been second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Did we all have chair, vice chair from the same?
It doesn't matter. We, on Vice, we haven't kept it consistent with the same body.
Because last year it was the county
It
and,
was county.
and I was the
Vice chair.
So you can get off the hook.
Or you could.
Or you get on the hook.
Either way.
Okay, I'll make a motion to nominate Jeffrey Richens as the co-chair.
I'll second that one.
You're the new chairman.
Oh, well, yeah. I'll let
All
you
right.
finish this.
You'll let me finish that. All right. Jeffrey Richens has been nominated as the vice chair of the Council of Governments and has been seconded. Any others, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed. All right, gentlemen,
Okay,
Congratulations.
thank you.
Tony, the floor is yours.
Floor is yours.
Well, I got another meeting.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Steve. That was awesome. Thanks for that.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
In front of you, not behind you.
Oh, I think, yeah.
Those, okay,
Oh,
Can I give a quick history for our newbies?
quick history, yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so the,
please do.
and I'm happy to send you our bylaws, but the Council of Governments is the only time that the school district, the county, and the city meet together. In our bylaws, each entity has 3 voting members. So school district, right now, there's only 2 that are officially appointed from the county, and that's Raylene Blocker and Vaughn Nickerson. You've met the 3 wise guys from the city, and then the school is Andrea and Angie. You go by Angie? Or did I get it wrong?
There's somebody else.
Oh,
She's on the school board too. In the other meeting.
so
Who's the
There is
third?
an Andrea on the school. board.
Yeah.
It's not me there.
Superintendent Andy.
Is your third? Okay, awesome.
Yeah, Andy's the superintendent's the 3rd member.
So there's a couple pots of money that we do for community betterment. The best example of that is the Young Street Bridge that was built, was done in partnership with this group. So it really is an intent of what's best for the community as far as infrastructure dollars. And then any other thing, because this meeting tends to go over its allotted hour, just because it's our only time that we really get to sit down and talk to each other. So it's a very, very useful group to have. And like I said, I'm happy to send you guys out the bylaws that created it. So this was created a long time ago by statute. It is not required to have the school district, but we always felt like, why wouldn't we? You're like one of our largest partners. So that's how it was created in the county of Morgan. So, thank you, Chair.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that. Yeah, so it is an opportunity for the 3 entities to get together and discuss issues concerning the county. So I think that the meeting has a lot of value, and it certainly has become a lot more functional, maybe in the last few years than it was prior to that. So anyway, welcome to the COG. Now, at least now you know what it stands for, Council of Government. Okay, moving on. So one of the first things we do every month is we take a look at the building permits for the city and for the county, and you have in front of you, you have the city's building permits for 2024 and for the month of, looks like the month of January. And did I see the counties in here? And yeah,
No.
the counties is in here. If you have your telescope or microscope, you can read the number 6 font. And again, that's and one of the reasons we take a look at this, I think primarily is, well, for many reasons, but maybe one of the main reasons is I think the school board finds it fairly informative as they plan for their future and they see what sort of growth the county and the city is experiencing. So they kind of have an idea of what to expect in the future as far as the school district is concerned. So if you have a moment to take a look at that, if you have any comments or questions or concerns as you look that over?
We're just seeing 2025, not 2024, right? We don't have that.
The counties,
Oh, they usually do what they've reported since the last meeting. So I'm surprised December's not in there. But maybe that's just.
Get 32 up there.
And that's all January and
Yeah.
February. Up to February 4th.
And Josh went home sick today.
See that?
Yeah.
and then,
Without my glasses, I just look underneath my glasses.
so
Old enough to manage a city.
You're all there.
Well, coming down the pike, Mayor Jeffrey or Ty could speak to the city a little bit. I know there's the 22, is it 22 units up in North Morgan? Is that the number?
It'll be 32 now.
32. There's, Nyes are what, total units over at Nyes is
And
17 or 19 over there.
yeah, I don't know if that'll actually hit this year.
Okay,
Two of the townhomes will for sure. So that's 10 units.
yeah, I don't know what the one subdivision is. The Rupp subdivision is not quite big out yet, so.
More of those coming.
Yeah, we got more applications.
So,
But about 8 more of those, I think. 8 more slots.
and then it was interesting, and I'll just quickly mention this, in the minutes, of our last minutes, we talked about, one of the bullet points was enrollment statistics for the school district are discussed with middle school showing stagnant growth. The only thing that, as I recall from that meeting, the only school that really had substantial growth in since 2019, in the last 5 years was the high school.
Correct.
And it was pushing what, 200 more students, 190 more students. And Morgan, was it Mountain Green Elementary that was actually a decreased fair number of students? So I don't know what the dynamic is going on here other than
Small, young families.
a
can
lot
afford
of,
to live in it.
families are moving in that don't bring with them a lot of,
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but our graduating class now is like the biggest.
Yeah.
And then our freshman class coming in is pretty small, right? Like we have, what's the seniors, 300?
this year.
Yeah.
And then the freshman coming in is like maybe half.
Remember, the middle schools were sort of stagnant. They were just sort of holding their own, so. But that was kind of a surprise,
Just a sign, if I may, Mr. Chair,
Sure.
just a sign that it's not necessarily starter homes. It's more established families that are moving here.
Yeah, and the kids are getting aged out
Yeah.
and up, yeah.
The Newmans aren't bringing young families, toddlers with them, so to speak. So,
Right.
no. Yeah.
Well, price of homes, they can't afford it.
That's right. Anyway, so any other comments or discussions anyone wants to make on that first item? Oh, okay, if not, let's go to the item 2, the status of the 2025 corridor preservation request, purchase of UDOT right of way. Guys, can you speak to that or?
Sure. So back in September or October.
Should we quickly mention the corridor preservation?
Yeah. So the Corridor Preservation Fund and the third quarter local option sales tax are the 2 funds that this body makes recommendations to the county on how to allocate. So the county is actually holds the funds. So the Corridor Preservation Fund comes from vehicle registrations. So $10 for every vehicle registration goes into a fund. And the main purpose of that fund is to purchase right-of-way for future road corridors. We don't have a lot of, we don't have a lot of those on our list. And then, the other use of that is for maintenance projects, but it's a lower priority.
How much money do we have in that?
You have a paper here. It shows it's $572,241.70. I think everyone has
Oh,
that.
at
in
end
their
of year.
packet.
For the map. We had, a deposit year to date of 23,150.
Okay, so all this money comes from vehicle registration, just $10 per registration?
Mhm.
So you'll like a new bill that's being pushed right now, where, so right now, you can register your vehicle anywhere in the state, right?
Where you want.
So if someone comes from a different county, and registers it here, we're still gonna get that money instead of it going back. If that bill goes through,
Okay,
that'll be,
that'll,
give you more. I don't know how many people
You know what? They're changing it to,
votes.
instead of like going to Wyoming to register your vehicle.
Well, that's a different bill. If we could get that, we'll get 60 to 80 million dollars a year being taken from our state because of that. No, this is just if you live, like I live in Morgan County and I'm down in Moab. I'm like, oh, shoot, I forgot to register my
It goes back.
ATV or whatever, right? So I go in there and I register it. Well, as it's written now, Moab County doesn't
Yeah.
get that.
that's what I was wondering. It'll change and come to Morgan.
No, it currently comes to.
It comes to Morgan. So those from out of the county that registers in Morgan, we don't get that money. But if this bill goes through, we will get that money if they come and register their vehicle in Morgan. Does that make sense?
That's the way I remember it. In Weber County. you Register,
Yeah.
it stayed in Weber County.
No, it doesn't stay there. But it will.
It's just,
Depends where you live. Where you're,
if I live in Morgan and I go to Weber County and register my vehicle, it stays in Weber County.
no, I don't think so. I think it goes back to the county or this, to where you live. A fee of it.
I'll have to look at that because.
Yeah, look at that. Look up the bill.
Yep, yep.
Like, who knows how it's changed throughout the years? I don't know. This is just another bill going through.
Anyway, that's the gist of the corridor preservation fund and how much we have available. We have a process where we apply once a year. You're only allowed to apply once a year. Back in September or October, we had this application for purchase of property from UDOT that's by their UDOT sheds. So it's north of the UDOT sheds. There's a on the map in the packet or attached to the application shows where a future road would come from. We acquired the city acquired the right of way to the east of it, but fronting the UDOT building, we needed that right of way in order to give access to the Clark Farm.
So,
So the purchase,
It's the first right after
Right
you
below
take
that.
the
Yep.
exit.
The road.
just the road right there. Yep.
and I have no idea where this is.
Right. off
First
the
right,
freeway exit.
As soon as you come off the exit.
Right past the vet clinic. or the vet clinic.
Some storage sheds that.
So the application was approved by COG to make a recommendation to the county, and I don't think that that's been forwarded on to the county yet. But it was included in the county's budget for this year. So Kate's not here, but during the budget process, and that's why we apply in like the September timeframe, is so that whatever recommendation was made to the county, they can put that in their budget for the following year.
There she is.
So we're just talking about the status of the corridor preservation application that was already approved by COG and forwarded to the county.
It was my understanding we didn't vote on it in November.
It was in like September or October.
Which one are you on?
Corridor Preservation Fund.
Was that the Young Street one?
400 east. 400 east.
It was the only application for corridor preservation.
I don't think it did.
Here.
Oh, I'm just.
Oh, no, no, no.
Hmm.
Skipped it.
Now I have one page on one.
County voted on it.
They did not.
Hasn't gone to the county yet for a vote, but this group prioritized it and voted to make a recommendation to the county.
Okay, do you remember what the recommendation was? I don't have
Okay.
it.
So it's up to,
Yeah.
it's for the
For the whole 400,
up to 400,
up to 400.
because we don't have a price from UDOT yet. It's gonna be less than that.
I will get it on Tuesday's agenda or next Tuesday.
And because it's corridor,
Am I on track?
Yeah.
Okay,
no, we talked about it and I just asked if it had gone to council yet.
but I didn't think we discussed it until, I guess I'm confused.
Yeah, it came earlier. It was.
Meeting in January or.
We had a working, we had a working meeting. We didn't have. a
But-
meeting.
But we have,
I will check the minutes because I'll have to include it, but
I know we didn't.
no, it has not been before the commission.
right, so that's just where that one's at.
Okay.
And that was the only application, corridor
It
preservation.
was in September.
I want to say September. We tried to do it before your
Yeah.
budget process.
Yeah,
And I remember you said that you carved it out in the budget. So corridor preservation has a expense line item for it in this year's budget. And that was kind of the trouble in the past is the COG would make a recommendation, but it was after the budget was already done. And so you had to amend the budget, but we tried to get ahead of that. Yeah,
So just so I understand, sorry, I'm gonna have a lot of questions because I'm so new.
yeah.
$200,000 will come from COG towards the corridor. And then you're asking the county for the rest?
200,000 is what we expended last year.
Oh.
They're asking for 400,000 from this budget.
Just from this budget.
Yeah.
Preservation fund.
So the county, when we say the county holds the funds, but it's on behalf of the COG.
Oh,
So
thank you. Okay.
we make a recommendation, but this is the body that decides where that.
Thank you.
That'll be one thing you'll get up to speed on is
And-
sometimes the county means the county as a whole.
Mhm.
Sometimes the county means the donut, everything but
Unincorporated.
Morgan City. Right? So like the differentiating between which county, right? Is it the unincorporated county or the
Okay.
county with Morgan City in it, right? So,
And that funding for COG comes from Corridor Preservation Fund, and that lost, which one is it?
Which one?
Third quarter, or fourth quarter.
Local option sales tax,
well, that'll be the next item is the third
the
quarter,
third quarter,
right?
and that's where the funding for this body comes
You
from.
put in the three.
And that'll be the next one Ty talked about.
Yeah, that was a miss. Yeah,
Ty.
what's that?
He was asking about the third quarter. I said, you'll talk about that agenda item on.
We have a couple applications today for that, so.
Okay, so on that Corridor Preservation Fund, then that needs to go to the county then.
Correct. And I'm
Okay, that's
putting
a-
it on the agenda right now.
Action item for the county.
Yes.
Okay, are we ready to move on to the number 3, Ty?
Mhm.
Okay, let's,
Unless,
unless there's any other,
oh yeah, that was it.
The owner is UDOT.
pardon?
The owner is UDOT.
Yes.
And there's also a chance that that might not happen in this budget year. They've been working on it for a year, but we still don't have a. Right, so. It's a slow process. We're finding.
It is.
Anyway, but they did give us verbal, like they're totally for it. It's just going through their process to surplus the property. It's not, we'll decide. They've already been through committee to decide. Now it's just appraisals and surveys and. environmental, all that stuff. Sure, so the COG has a working group, which meets mostly every month. And we've been through a process where we took the county and the city's capital improvement lists, combined them. Well, we took all the road projects out of both lists, combined them, and then we went through a process where we prioritized. We made a criteria for prioritizing projects, and we took each project and applied the criteria. So much for safety, so much for active transportation as a component, connectivity, those sort of things, like mutual benefit between the county and the city. It had if it had economic impact on that project. So we went through that process, created a list, and so those, that kind of master list is what we use the county and the city to push forward requests for the third quarter local option sales tax. So that group works on behalf of the COG so that the COG doesn't have to spend all these hours going through this process just to figure out where they rank. And so that process has been done. The county has an application and the city has an application from that list of prioritized projects. And so just like the Corridor Preservation Fund, this body makes recommendation to the county on how those money should be spent on those projects. Hopefully that makes sense. So one project we have, this Young Street West is the city's project. It's requesting $315,000 and the total project is 1.2 million. And the portion of the project is the missing sidewalk. So from about 300 West to East Canyon Creek, there's no sidewalk. And the city's putting in an 8-foot sidewalk / trail that will connect up eventually to go over East Canyon Creek, which will connect to Morgan Valley Drive. So that's kind of how that project ranked. It was the second highest ranked project in the list from the COG working group. And Rory, you might want to look up the county project to see where it ranks, because I don't remember. Well, it's a different project than what we had during the working group. So anyway, that's the city's request, 315,000. It's about a 75% or 25% match, 75% match. 25% from COG, yep. And then that fancy map just has a line where that's just where the sidewalk portion is. The actual road project's gonna go from State Street to East Canyon Creek, where we resurface the whole road. And then there's an engineer's estimate that shows where we came up with the 315,000. So this project's already been bid out. Tomorrow night at City Council, we accept the bid from the contractor with this pricing, that locks this pricing in. And so it's very hard numbers. It's not just a guess of, or an estimate of what we think it'll cost. So that's project number one. And then project number two is the Fairgrounds Trail project. So the city did a trail almost 2 years ago, about a year and a half ago. We did a trail from Young Street, or the end of Commercial Street, to the fairgrounds. So it connected the new bridge both to Commercial Street and if you've ever seen that trail that goes to the fairgrounds. So this county project takes it from the fairgrounds to the pickleball court.
Okay.
And you already have a grant for that, don't you?
No, we have approval from the county, then, and ours is shovel ready. It's already, I already have a contractor in place. Just looking for help on the funding. For what my project comes down to. It's a little cheaper than your project.
Yeah.
But it is shovel ready. We will be doing the project hopefully come June, first part of June in 25. My request is just for 50% of the funds for the county. The commission has approved the project. So this is this is just a request for funds through the COG. Quarter.
Yep. So, yep, they're both third quarter. They're both projects ready to go. Ours will start in March. And then the questions probably for the COG is knowing what's in fund balance.
Yeah. Yeah, what is the net fund balance?
And so the options are, you could say no to both projects, would rather let that fund build for a different project at a future date, maybe a higher ranking project, or you can fund one or the other. You don't have to fund both, or you can fund either one at a percentage. You don't have to fund the entire request. So if you say there's only so much money, let's go ahead and fund the counties because it's a small ask, and a percent of the cities, that's totally acceptable. Based on what funding is available, but third quarter local option sales tax is prioritized by this group, and both entities are just equally eligible. So.
The fairground project you asked, ranked 19th.
Oh, I thought it was higher.
Out of, I think, 23 projects we ranked. So.
Are there, what? Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, it's okay. What was the cost of the county's project? That I didn't hear a number. there.
79,800.
Okay.
That's the cost of that.
Reasonable.
79.
Those 23 projects,
This one.
first time here, right? So I don't know. but
31 in.
All of these are this way in the county. There's nothing in the Mountain Green area going on, or there is there?
Projects came from both. The city provided a list of projects they wanted to put into the prioritization process, and then the county provided a list of projects. And then what we did was, we went through as a group and scored them, as Ty made mentioned, for a variety of
So in those 23,
criteria.
how many are east of the county?
That, but how many you have in the?
I don't have any trail projects that down on Mountain Green at this time.
None? 'Cause our one along Old Highway Road is pretty bad, and there's a lot of school kids on it.
There was an old highway bike path. There's a Deep Creek Road. I'm just looking at the county one,
You
so.
mean to construct we're talking about new construction. To
Yeah.
construct a new.
Construct a new one. It's shovel
Along
ready.
Old Highway,
In Mountain Green.
along Old Highway, the
Yeah.
full Old Highway, that was $31 million.
No, not the whole Old Highway. Just like,
15,000.
there's a trail there right now, but it's completely just torn up from all the construction. You got Lee's, you got the middle school. Just all along that busy area, all the way to Kent Smith. It's bad.
What's that?
I'm just wondering if everything's,
So there's
Just
mass transit
curious.
tax, there's additional transit tax county, and there's additional transit tax. local, which is not allowed.
Shouldn't be additional. It should be mass transit tax.
So the mass,
Is that the big one? Is that the big one? Yeah.
so it's almost $1 million.
5912, 2217.
That's the fund.
No, it's the number that
The
the
number.
state,
Yeah,
That's
those
the tax code.
yeah.
Available.
$960,000 and change.
And then just to your point, Raylene.
Yeah.
Is every year we resubmit projects, so as the county gets together. On whatever process the county goes through, you can, through the road department. Say, here's our new list of projects. it gets updated and then it gets reprioritized with the same criteria that we've already used. And so this is just the current year's list, but that could be different every year. It could be different.
So it's always submitted through Rhett?
And it's kind of whatever's on his radar. So like we have a lot of projects that we're not gonna get to probably because of funding or
We don't have a copy
because
of that list, do we? Sure, we don't have it in this packet, but
I
he
have
probably
the-
hasn't seen it.
There's that one.
I have one in
Can
my
you
office,
just-
but.
So, Ty, so for their benefit, who is on the work group committee? Who's the one that sat down and?
So it
Blaine,
was, oh. go ahead.
Blaine, Brett,
me, Lance Prescott, our road supervisor.
Sorry.
It's the RPO group.
Yeah,
So the way, there's a working group and an RPO group that are made up of the same members. So the RPO group has a interlocal agreement between the city, the county, with WFRC and UDOT. And that committee,
that stands for Regional
Regional-
Planning Organization.
rural planning organization. And what we do is, you all have given WFRC a little extra money to help develop a long-range transportation plan. We're meeting quarterly. The other months, as Ty said, the other 8 months out of the year is a COG working group. So it's like it's a informal, we don't have to have minutes. We don't have to have a formal agenda posted 24 hours of notice. We don't have to have a public comment period during that COG working group. It's a technical working group. And one of the big items that since I've been on there has been to do, as Ty had made mention, review projects in the corridor preservation process, review projects for the third quarter prioritization process. So take the projects, we run through and help kind of manage and score the projects and document what the score is. And then ultimately, it's this body's decision to decide out of that 900 some odd thousand, how much do you want to spend? How much do you want to leave in the bank? And are these the top two priorities? And so as that group, the city and the county, I took it as the city and the county both thought, the group thought it was, these were the projects that made sense to fund this year. But again, it's up to the COG's discretion. It was just, it's a working group made up of elected officials, staff. WFRC and UDOT are non-voting. We're just kind of facilitating and helping as resources. But as Ty said, every year, so this year, I think we're trying to get out even further ahead of the process. In the summer, we'll look for nominations to be scored and ranked. That way, we're a little bit further ahead in the county's budget.
So all we have on there is new projects, not maintenance projects. Just new funded projects. Like we're gonna add a new trail in Mountain Green somewhere, or the one at the fairgrounds, or like the city.
And there are some limits to what it can be used for, but it's like some of the, in all bills that the legislature allows you all to impose fees. This is a third quarter local option sales tax. So it's a quarter local option sales tax, but there's rules that what the money can be used for and what it can't be used for. And then there's another imposed order that has a whole set of other rules, right? And it gets, who gets them, if it's the county as the whole, is it the county as unincorporated? Is it the city itself gets a portion of that? And there's a process on how that money gets spent as well. So it gets a little tricky in some of these because these two, just the ones that brought before you guys today, have two different processes on how they get approved and funded.
Mr. Chair, can I make a comment?
You sure may, Mayor.
I think it's one of actually the most effective between the school, the county and the city that can actually say, put the rubber on the road types of things. And I think it's highly valuable for all three entities to make sure there's somebody at the table, make sure we're caught up on the priority lists. Been a lot of thought, sort of inconsistency with who attended and then it just kind of gets stuck in the mud, so to speak. But I think it benefits, this is one way that that can benefit all three groups with projects and things that actually benefit everybody. So thank you for being committed to it.
Thank you. This is great.
Yeah, I think it's highly effective. And then the 3 years I've been attending, there's some huge strides that have been made between everybody, and it's been very effective, so.
I'll make another comment. So local option sales tax, it's an additional 0.25% on the sales tax generated in the county and the city. But 100% of that sales tax comes back to us to prioritize for transportation. And the general sales tax, the county gets 0.5% of everything generated in the county. And the city gets 1% of everything generated in the city. So where this is 100% of just 0.25%. It doesn't take away from annual operating budgets. And it doesn't have an impact on property taxes. So that's why this committee, I think that, just to the mayor's point, that's why this is such an effective committee, is because it's money that comes straight to us. It doesn't take out of either entity's operational budget and gets prioritized through an actual systematic process, you know, where we get it all ranked and
So let me
rated.
make sure I heard you right. The local optional sales tax of 0.25% goes directly to COG?
Mhm. So there's 3 different local option sales tax. So 3 different 0.25%. One, the county keeps 100% of that for that can be your operational budget for roads.
For transportation.
For transportation, sorry. And then the city has one that comes directly to us. The 3rd quarter is this one that we're talking about, where it could go to either entity. 0.25%. The 4th quarter is one where the county gets 0.15%, and then they get 1.1% or
0.1.
the rest of the unincorporated, and then the city also gets an additional, no, it would be 0.5.
So there's 0.1 that goes to locals, so.
And that's the
Not-
way.
I
No, I know,
you
no,
want
no, you
that
won't.
to-
It's split, so that quarter gets split by 0.15 and 0.10. And part of it goes to the county for
Correctly.
anywhere within the county, the greater county.
Yep.
And then the 0.1 gets split between unincorporated county and city.
Yep.
So one of them is kind of a mix of like, what's the best use in the county as a whole? And then each entity gets a little bit of the 0.1 based on some formula.
But it doesn't have the process that this has.
Right,
So
no, that can be, and it
just-
can be spent anytime. So corridor preservation can be spent once a year. And once it's spent, you can't spend any more that whole year. You have to wait until the following year. This 3rd quarter just needs to go through this process. You could make a decision today to fund these 2. And then in 6 months, something comes up and you're like, we need access to the other 300,000 or 400,000 to put towards something else. You could make multiple that. And then the other one, the 4th quarter. And the reason there's 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th is that there are 5 actual quarters or almost quarters that are available to cities. Morgan City has just chosen to do 1, 3, and 4 because 2 is like really focused to transit.
Yeah, we don't really.
And so most of the Wasatch Front areas have 1, 2, 3, 4. Some 1 or 2 have they call it the fifth because it's not a full. Anyways, it gets somewhat confusing, but what I could do also is send to the COG if you guys want. We've written up a kind of transportation funds. So it talks about the B and C funds, which is the county and the city funds that come from the transportation infrastructure, and then corridor preservation, 3rd quarter, 4th quarter, and it has a little bit more detail. Okay.
Actually, this one was ranked 19.
Mhm.
What was the other one, the Young Street? 2?
Chair, Vaughn Nickerson, Commissioner Nickerson has a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, thank you. So I was in a meeting with Lydia with our outdoor rec last week, and she had brought up this, what's that?
Just a second, Vaughn, we can barely hear you.
I can try to yell louder.
I hear you.
Is that better?
Oh, so much better. Thank you, Vaughn.
Okay. So I was in a meeting last week with our outdoor rec with Lydia, and she had brought up the trail, and maybe she's talking a different trail there at the fairgrounds. But it sounded like she had felt there was a grant that had her name kind of attached to it that she had applied for to help with the trail over there. And one of her questions was, she talked about Johnny Wilkinson was the one that was going to be doing the work. And so her concern was, it needed to be got done this year. And, who was going to report on it? And is that the same trail that we're talking about here? Or is that a different trail?
Yeah, it's part of it. I didn't know she was gonna fund it. I know she put in for the money, but the council already okayed the project to pay for the project. I just brought this application in to help pay for the project. So either way, the project's gonna go. As far as Lydia's money, I don't know about the grant money yet. It's coming in. I think she probably put in for it or talking about putting in for it, but we haven't seen it yet. But the project.
Okay, like I said, that was.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Brett.
The project's a go either way. I'm just trying to get help to fund it, so. You know what I mean?
Okay, I'll follow up with her.
Yeah,
Sorry,
follow up with her and see.
just a-
We'll be glad for any grant to help out any of these kind of projects, but we haven't seen the money, and I don't think Kate has either.
No, I'm texting her right now.
Thank you, Vaughn.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, try to encapsulate this real quickly if I can. So I think what we're discussing and what's on the table right now is we're looking at, and this is an action item, we're looking at making some decisions on the third quarter applications. One of the applications is for the $315,171.69 to the city. The other application is for, again, is that for 79.8 or is it for the 39.9? 39.9. So that is what is on the table right now. If we want to approve those applications. In full or partially or not at all. So any discussion?
Could you tell me more a little bit about the county fairground trail project?
So the trail currently that the city finished, that nice wide trail that people parked on during the fair. Made me grumpy. Essentially, they did it all the way up to the city-county line. So then the county is going to continue the trail past the pickleball courts,
Over to the pickleball.
over to
For
the
now.
pickleball
For
court.
now, until we approve
What's this?
that.
That's the nice city trail.
Yeah, that's from the city, what's the city's part?
That shows it going under the bridge and.
That's been done. Right?
Yeah, that's the one that's
Mine's the
done.
one after that.
So depending on what decision is made in which projects, how much money comes in and how often, like when is it? That makes sense.
Yeah, that shouldn't be in the packet.
So
Yeah.
last year, we bring in about $105,000 a year into that fund. So, right, well, I say that.
Should be more.
No, it's about $500,000, sorry, $500,000, a little over $500,000 in that fund every year. And it had a fund balance of 527,400, good grief, 427,000 from last year. And then we brought in 533,005 last year.
That's where that 960.
960.
So the 960 is the balance.
There hasn't been any projects funded with this yet. It's been just pretty much.
Kate, what is the corridor preservation fund generate typically in a year?
Corridor Pres, I don't have that one in up right now. Hold on, let me grab it.
It's just over 100.
That's 18, that's 19. That one was 31, right? Fund 31.
Should, it's about 527 right now.
Yeah, it was over 500.
Annually?
No,
No,
that's what I'm
total,
pulling up. Fund 31, right?
Well,
We
we've
pulled
used
some
some,
out.
we pulled some.
Yeah,
We pulled out 200,000 last year.
200.
Oh, yeah, that was the number. Good gravy. Why am I overcomplicating life? So that's the one where you have the financials. It was, our fund balance is 572, 241.70, and year to date, we've brought in 23.5. So it's about $600,000 right now,
But it brings in 20.
but it brings in about 166 a
Yeah.
year.
The 23 was for January, February, or?
The 23,000 is January, February,
Oh, times
which
that
is
by-
technically December,
Extrapolate
January.
that times 6, and so you'd 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have high months and low months. Yeah. Christmas,
The 166.
166 last year was what we brought in.
Okay, then. Again, any discussion, comments on these applications? So,
Which one of these we have to keep
I think one other thing I would. Brett and Mayor, Kate, heading the COG working group. The group, as we were reviewing the projects, right, there were 23 projects, so the group could have easily come in and said, let's spend all 900,000 of this. But I think the working group thought it made sense to put these two projects forward and leave a little bit of the money for rainy day or for future projects. So it's just something to think about as well. There are other projects that are part of the prioritization list. These were the two that the group thought made sense to bring forward here, and not ask for the full amount of the 900,000 to spend it down, just to spend half, not even half of it, it doesn't look like. So just keep that in context as well, I think, from the working group, but it's ultimately up to this group's decision to.
I thought I remembered once upon a time that we could only spend half of what was in the corridor.
That's corridor preservation.
Order of preservation.
That's on maintenance. If we want to use it for like we did last year, then we can use up to half of it for maintenance.
So this one doesn't have that restriction on it, but to Jory's point, our project's like 1.2 million. And we didn't want to ask for like a 50% match or a 30% match. What we felt like was reasonable was because we're adding trail, that's the joint benefit. That's the new capacity, which will connect to Morgan Valley Drive. So it's in kind of city-county future
So,
benefit. That's why we just asked for the 300 and leave the fund balance there for future.
so can I make one, I think, comment that I remember out of it? Would that particular fund be what Commissioner Locker's talking about as far as maintenance goes on the trail, or is that?
We've only had new construction on the third quarter. I think that's what it's designed for, isn't it? For future projects.
But what's the fund that you mentioned that was for maintenance?
The corridor preservation fund, you can use it on maintenance, half of it, if you don't have any other projects, you know.
But that wouldn't qualify for, say, that Mountain Green Trail.
Well, it probably could, for
Just
that,
a-
yeah.
It's just
But if
that
you-
on maintenance, you should be doing that out of your own operating budget.
To be in some funds.
It's not a
Okay.
very high priority. So if you,
That's really what they expect you to do.
yeah,
But in the county, we haven't had a separate trail maintenance fund ever. We need, I mean, we need to create one. I'm using my park fund to do what little bit we've had, right?
Right.
So, yeah, that's something we could work.
But being an old Mountain Green boy, that trail it's easier to walk on the road than the trail. So when it gets to that point,
The safety issue.
yeah, it's a safety issue, but somehow we don't want any of our projects to slip to that point.
True.
We need somehow to maintain, and I'm not sure that happens in this committee, but
No, I think that's more the commissioner, just like the trail that goes off Silverleaf. They give us out for the HOA now because of that, part of that reason. right there.
so it's one thing to get a trail or whatever you want to call it, but it's another thing to maintain it. I mean, we go, I mean, that's been there for a lot of years. Silverleaf's been there now for a lot of years. But we let it slip to the point where you can't maintain it. You have to start over. So,
Does that qualify for new construction if you're starting over?
no,
I think it's still maintenance.
do maintenance.
This one?
There
We
is,
just never had extra funds to prioritize it. We might be getting to the point where maybe we could. I mean, I wish we would.
No, it's right
My
over
job.
It's an accidental, shouldn't be in the packet.
There's no sidewalk.
Yeah.
But I don't think this money is not set aside. And I sent you the list of the projects we have, and there's all kinds of different projects. Sewer project, you know what I mean,
Double dipping on
to the
this.
fairgrounds, and of course, Trail project and Silverleaf project. There are different projects on there. I don't have another trail project in Mountain Green, and I don't know of another one in plans besides the state, you know, tying that together, but that's out of our hands there. You don't.
So just one more comment and then I'll shut up. Because we've come a long ways with Jory and Julie's help. I remember a lot of the meetings, we were showing this budget and this month coming in, and we honestly were frogs without legs. We didn't even know what it was about. And I think now we're to the point where it's defined, it's pointing in the right direction, and we're off on a good start. I think that if I have anything to persuade is we just need to keep fine tuning it and getting things done because it's there.
That was the problem before, because I had no idea what I could and couldn't
Yeah.
use, right? I mean, now we're starting to figure that out.
And it was a debate between everybody.
Right.
We've come a long way.
Yeah.
We have in the last couple of years. Hey, I need to ask you a question.
I'm right here.
You are the COG guru. Who is the voting members here?
Everyone except for Steve, or wait, I'm sorry, Ty, Brett, myself, and Jory, and the ladies in the back.
Okay, the rest of us are all voting.
The rest of you are, and Vaughn online is.
Vaughn is a
Okay, so
superintendent.
if,
Andy's
not
and the county still has not appointed its third seat.
okay. Okay. Knowing that, if there, I mean, I'm prepared to take a motion on this if there's no other comments or.
Real quick, are we voting on all three of these?
oh, just
We already
the two.
voted on the corridor one.
Okay.
So just the Fairgrounds
Just the
Trail
two.
and the Young Street improvements west, correct?
The two.
Chair, I have one more question.
Sure.
From what we heard early in the meeting, you want 39.9 on that, but we don't know if they're gonna try to use money from the rec department on that same trail.
I think what they're saying is they applied for a grant, but the only grant I can think of that they're talking about is our NEPA study grant. And I don't think that has anything yet.
So my understanding is that they were awarded an outdoor recreation grant for that trail. It came to the county under Blaine's purview. And that's why I got kicked over to the rec board in order to finish it.
We don't have a rec.
What rec board?
Thank you.
I walked.
Or, no, you're,
Fairgrounds with them that day.
well, anyway, cause she contacted me and said, how do I get this trail done? And I was like,
So I have grant money somewhere.
but
Awesome.
Lucky.
but here's the
Let me
good,
see if I
here's the
can
good
find
news
it.
on that, is even if the COG funds that, those funds can be the match money for the grant. Right? So where it's a 50-50, either way, the project's gonna get done. If there isn't a grant, then the county pays for half. If there is a grant, then the COG pays for 50. And on that grant, and the grant covers the other 50. So it's still a benefit to the county by $40,000. But it's not gonna interfere with the grant. It could just be counted as match. COG's money can be counted as the match if there
Right.
is a grant. And so basically, there's no additional out of pocket for the county. If
The
there's
way
a
the
grant.
commission voted on it, they'll fund it either way. I mean, hopefully this works, but if it doesn't, then the commission would fund it too.
Good question.
Either way, we're gonna do the project,
That was a
where
good
they did,
question.
and that was last.
Haven't been to
Yeah, it was
the
all-
ball courts. Is that like, what is it? Just mash down weeds to get there or what?
I don't think there's anything.
It's a 10-foot asphalt trail. Just like the city.
Right
has.
now, or what you're going to do?
We're gonna put in.
To the city
Now it's
limit.
dirt.
What is it now? Is what I'm asking. Like,
Nothing,
it's just
nothing.
dirt?
Just dirt.
Okay,
The grass, just,
the trail to the pickleball.
But I-
When you have an event, and everybody's walking in
the
the.
parking lot, you can park, so nobody really walks.
You
to
been
it.
on the city trail?
Mickelson Mile.
You been on it?
The one that just follows the river.
School. Just continue that.
Fairgrounds, but not the.
Same, like a 10-foot asphalt trail. We'll go to the fairgrounds and then it'll go right alongside the road over to the bridge. We call it the steel bridge.
Yeah.
Cross that, then over to the pickleball courts and end there for now until the fairgrounds gets improved farther and then we'll take it
The
farther.
price
city-
seems kind of low to me.
What's that?
Price seems kind of low.
It was a pretty good competitive bid, yeah.
Huh.
It was.
The city last year took a trail from the end of Commercial Street. Okay, and now there is a trail that goes from the end of Commercial Street over to the new bridge, past, underneath the new bridge, past the new bridge, over to the fairgrounds,
That's the bus garage.
past the bus garage.
We
This one is
We
going,
actually took it from the city line just to the fairgrounds, so at least we could get to that for 113 feet. And we did that already. We just paid the contractor to go another 113 feet. This price is to go from that gate to the fairgrounds,
And
across the road.
and it's
down.
a straight trail, so
Yeah.
there's not approaches and curb
Oh,
gutter.
nice.
Yeah, it's not,
Crossings,
it's
all
not
of
near as
that.
complicated
It's
as.
just a straight shot ahead.
if you had the property, you could almost go clear up to the golf course if you.
Working on it.
You've got,
We're working on it.
we've got the property, it's just gotta be, I mean, it's gotta go in with the with the fairgrounds project, so we're not putting the cart before the horse, that makes sense, so.
Anyway, as I said, prepared to take a motion if anyone's prepared to do so.
Attempt to make the motion.
You don't do that often, do you?
No.
Okay, all right.
Calling for it.
It might not make any sense, so help me. So I want to say the two projects that I'm making a motion on are the Fairgrounds Trail Project and the Young Street Improvements West projects. And I make a motion that we accept these two projects with the attached bids and fund them and get them done.
Okay, motion,
Make sense?
yeah. Motion by Mayor Gale to approve of these requests.
I'll second.
Oh, second. I was gonna ask for a second, but I was gonna say what the motion was first, but that's okay.
You say what the motions is, we need to hear them again.
We did now, we have a motion and a second. The motion and the second is that we accept these requests for the third quarter applications. The amount of $315,171.69 for the city and $39,900 for the county project. Is that correct? Any other discussion on this? Comments? If not, let's do a roll call vote. Do a roll call vote on that. Rating. Aye.
Aye.
Do I have a vote?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, aye.
Aye.
Vaughn,
Don't forget Vaughn.
Vaughn? Vaughn?
you're muted. Unless you're gonna text me.
Can,
Yeah, can you?
He's just muted.
Unmute him.
That won't turn up the,
Oh,
Vaughn?
they'll just give feedbacks.
Crickets.
Chair, I maintain that without his vote,
It's still
it's
unanimous.
still will pass.
Okay. Any opposed? That vote is unanimous. Passes. Thank you all for the discussion. Moving on to item 4, review transportation fund balances. Do we have that in our packet? We haven't talked about
What do you
the corridor preservation, but
Item 4.
I know, but which balances would you like?
You put it on the agenda. transportation fund balances, so. I think we've gone through them,
Yeah.
like, just corridor and third quarter is pretty much all we need to,
I'm still looking.
this
for
group needs to.
We talked about the third quarter and corridor preservation, right?
Yep.
I did email you about.
Oh, yes.
I did see it. I haven't. It's sitting in my.
I just got a note on the county's agenda as well.
Okay.
Isn't it?
So while we're just, I guess I've got one more question about what we just did. We don't have the funds. We're recommending to the county, and now we've got to get it on the county agenda.
Done.
Done. Okay. And for them to approve and cut loose the funds. Okay.
Which doesn't come out of.
Right, so what you just did was made the recommendation that the county will distribute those funds with the corridor preservation.
The recommendation.
Okay.
Every $100.
Okay, they're both recommended.
Yeah.
Council makes the final decision.
So they haven't done the opening balance. But that's what they. And that's due date.
Kabosh and 61 to that.
I need to dive into the detail. though.
I think-
I'll still email it to you.
No, it's a recommendation. They could, yeah,
I meet with Ron and Mike.
'cause it's up to their. So like,
Helps.
they're gonna wait for a year.
They can.
This isn't a. Books it does. They're the ones cutting the check.
Just explain
And this isn't.
really
an
quick to
entity
me, like,
With a,
I
Oh,
wasn't here during
so this
any
is
of
the
this
right of way.
discussion, but
That's the very first one.
yeah, I know it's done, but
And so,
what is the benefit to the entire county
cause this will
for
eventually. be a
purchasing
road.
all this?
so
Here.
that,
We're purchasing there, and then that will eventually be a road.
so the Clark Farm, in order for that to ever develop, they're gonna need a way in and a way out. Right now, they only have one road stubbed in. And then this one gets from the end of 400 East to that farm, which is all UDOT, so it doesn't have development potential. So normally if if one side of the property develops, then we say you gotta put in the road, you gotta bring the road to the next property, and there's a gap there, so without the right of way, we have no way to get the road.
So does the Clark family have to pay for the road?
Nope,
No, it doesn't necessarily
So
benefit.
the
well,
county has to pay for the
whoever-
road?
the county would not. It's
We're
the
just
city.
purchasing the land.
It's
The right of way.
preserving
Right
the
of-
corridor. We to have a
Okay.
corridor.
So
there.
depending on what happens there, if a large development comes in, then they would have to actually put the improvements in.
Right.
But the city might also have to participate on our portion, depending on the application, then they figure out what's allowed. Cause you can't over exact. So whatever their requirement is. So if their requirement says they're only required to put in half of a road because they're only gonna develop 20 homes, then the city would put in the other half in order to make it a full road.
I see.
And it's kind of the industrial part of the city.
I have a question on the county commission agenda for the corridor purchase. Since we put in there a budget, but it's acquisition of land, do we need to discuss that in closed session? As to not create a competition with outside purchasers?
No, because it's been recommended from a public body already. It's out. And the city's already had we've already had the close sessions for
Okay.
that purchase, and it's already out, so. If it was a private entity, we would basically be under contract. But it's UDOT, so. We may or may not be under
It'll happen
contract.
just one day.
What's that?
Right? It'll happen just one day.
Yeah.
And then the county, I just looked it up, the county commission reviews and votes on the COGS priority list, so this recommendation goes to the county commission to
Great.
make the final.
Thank you.
Okay, so, did we get those fund balances, Kate, or?
Say again,
Did
we already went through them.
Where are you?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And I did add on a follow-up on four, I can send the one pager to distribute to the
Oh, for
COG.
fair. Yep, I'll be
Kind of
back.
explaining the differences between B and C, border preservation.
I'm kicking him
third
out.
quarter, fourth quarter.
He's got another.
That would be helpful.
Okay, and who should I send it to? Is there a new city?
Send it to Janet.
Janet, okay.
That means she can maybe get a copy for us in our.
Okay.
Okay. It's that time of year again when we now review the Wasatch Front Regional Council appointments. I saw that in here somewhere. Well, I don't have a last page anymore. myself.
You shuffle like a big, right there. Right there.
Real, all right. All kinds of paperwork here. So what you have on here, we have the current membership, we have the tentative for this coming, this is the different Wasatch Front Regional Council meetings and committees, so you can see that this is the tentative one that's been suggested. Do we have any discussion on this or any changes that need to be made?
The County Commission of Morgan has not approved Blaine Fackrell's portfolio.
Okay,
On here 3 times.
on here, these are.
So I don't know what you want
So we
to,
scratch him.
Table it.
What you, since he is, well, besides active transportation, which we have a meeting tomorrow,
alternate.
he's an alt. So, you know, you could make the recommendation with
We're all up at those
the
3
members.
spots.
And then if you want to hold on him for tomorrow's meeting, Mayor, maybe you can attend the active transportation committee.
I was going to.
Okay, and I do have, just to pass around here, I brought our schedule. We got those put together, so, as soon as I think we know who, then we will send out calendar invites to all of these and add them to our distribution list, which include all the agendas and packet materials and calendar invites.
So at the meeting tomorrow, there won't be any county.
You're not.
Well, if you're an alt, if you're assigned as an alt, then you could vote.
I'll probably see it and be like, wait, is there?
Option would be to approve it as is. And if those 3 spots change, we can always amend it in the next meeting when we do know.
And that might be the cleanest thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But as is.
yeah, so I mean, someone prepared to make a motion on that?
If you have any questions on what these committees do, I can help
Go to
you.
the new training.
I was just gonna say, so, February 27th, there's a new, we used to call it new member orientation for our new county and city elected officials. But then we found out that it's really worthwhile to invite anybody and everybody who just can't remember all the things that we do as an AOG, Association of Governments, or an MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization, or an RPO, right? Like there's a million acronyms. And so we've expanded that. And I used to call it as like a WFRC 101, right? Like come and learn about the basics of the and so now we're starting to call it that. And I think last year it's all virtual nowadays. And so we had over, I think 100+ people attend last year. All the materials will be online too, but it's just a really high level time that you can ask questions during it, and just gonna get a big overview. So if you don't have that on your calendar, let us know. 27th, 1:30 to 3, online. And again, it'll be recorded and we'll have presentation available on the website.
Did you say they were gonna send a second calendar request?
I'm not
I'm happy
100%
to
sure how
forward it
that,
to you.
I have it on my
Do you want me to
calendar.
forward it to you, the calendar?
You
You
did?
did
Okay.
get it, okay.
Riley,
did you get
send
it?
it out.
Got it.
Okay. See, you were on.
So,
crack.
so if you do have questions on these committees, I can answer them. Since you're making a motion, if you have any questions on like, what did each of these do? But if not, then the person who's on these committees should definitely come and just open it to everybody if you guys have a chance.
You're a good resource.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So, yeah, did I hear a motion or I'm certainly prepared to take a motion on this.
Would you say we have good attendance?
Let me,
I know you didn't bring it,
I
but
did
like,
not.
it looked like on the attendance sheet, we had at least 10 representation.
Better.
Percent of the time?
We went from 0 to
These numbers.
wasn't very long ago we did.
I'll make a motion.
Yeah, it's getting better.
Thank you.
I make a motion to accept the new tentative assignments for the WFRC members for 2025.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Jeffrey, motion by Raylene. Raylene.
Raylene, yep.
Raylene. Okay, I'll get that right. Any other discussion on this motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Vaughn,
So.
still hearing crickets from Vaughn. Okay, that motion passes. That's unanimous. Okay, moving on. We have the Save Our Soul grant, SOS grant. But SOS grant. We got it. I don't know who put that on the agenda, by the way.
You did.
I did?
I think it's the one that you covered in the CED meeting. The CEO meeting. Remember the SOS request?
I'm on chemo. You're gonna have to speak for me. I don't remember.
So I don't think we need to talk about item number 6.
Okay. By the way, I've asked you,
That's not getting their grant.
Oh, good grief. Oh, I sent it to the wrong email chain.
Okay.
Okay, Lima Charlie. That makes more sense. Thank you. It's like, what the heck is SOS?
I've asked Janet in the future when on the agenda to maybe make a note of who has to put it on the agenda so we can have an idea. Okay. Yeah, well, that was fast. That's good. We are down to other business for future discussion. Do we have any other business for future discussion?
Up on sweets.
Have you two enjoyed your
First talk.
initial COG meeting immensely?
And eye-opening.
Does anyone have any other business for future discussion or?
Raylene and I will be coming before the school board tomorrow night. Is there any information you'd like us to prepare in advance? Other than just introducing?
Not that we know of, just you're coming into yourselves as members.
Yeah.
So.
And Vaughn will be at the March meeting. He has, he's a teacher, so he has, just like you guys had, parent teacher conferences.
Yeah.
So he couldn't make it tomorrow.
Sorry, I finally got my iPad to unmute.
There he is.
Sorry about that. I kept hitting it, trying to unmute, and it would not unmute, and it finally did when you guys were all done.
Okay, so out of curiosity, how would you have voted on the last
Yes.
2 votes? Yes, on both.
Yes, sorry, I thought
Yay.
I texted Kate and Raylene, and yes, so sorry.
Ron, you're just in time for us to,
Make the motion, Vaughn.
we don't even need a motion. Meeting adjourned.
I was gonna, one thing that Steve's mentioned, you think about Young Street Bridge. And we've talked about it, and never seen, heard a little bit about social media, but that bridge has been discussed for decades, 20+ years or more. And the unity of the group and the county and the city and the schools. I mean, that's an awesome
Really
big
great.
millions of dollars, and over the years, we've spent a lot of money, so. We have a lot of good things that we can accomplish, as the mayor said earlier, that. And we appreciate everybody's help behind the scenes.
I've made this comment before. Cindy and I, my wife and I, we do an awful lot of walking daily, but a lot of times it'll take us over to the new bridge and then back down towards the Mickelson Mile. But must be 8 o'clock in the morning, or I guess whenever high school start, that road right there is just one car after another after another. And I commented the other day, I says, you know, this was the intended purpose right here, is to reduce that traffic congestion around the schools down there. And it's been a huge benefit to us. So, and Kelly's right. It was a long time coming. We've had a lot of discussions on that, but thanks everyone for your attendance. And, hey, I got you out of here in an hour and a half. So there you go. Well, we try to keep them to about an hour, but and it's okay. You guys had a lot of questions and that was fine. So, but typically in an hour and a half, we get pretty well wrapped up.
Oh, geez. These are the buyers, so.
And the trees, so the ham.
Yeah.
Tony, yeah, we got, yeah, Tony London, yeah.